Hello, everyone, and welcome back to What Businesses Need to Know Right Now. I'm your host, Nettie Owens, and today I have Melissa Hughes with me. I'm like fangirling over here. I'm thrilled to have you here with us, Melissa, and we're going to be talking about the brain, about how the brain works with all of the things that are going on with us as business owners. There's such a wide range of topics that we could cover that even as we were discussing which questions to talk about, there was a range of things, but we kind of narrowed it down a little bit. We have we are live. Okay, sorry, there was just a little bit of a glitch there. So we are going to click on this thing to get it out of the way. We're going to talk about psychological safety today, and we're going to explore that and what that means. But first, I want to introduce you all to Melissa so you can be just as excited about having her here as I am. So Melissa is an author, she's a speaker, and she is a neuroscience geek, which is probably the thing that I love the best. And she's always talking and sharing brain-based, research-backed information that helps business owners, that helps leaders, that helps employees to do what they do even better. She works with organizational leaders to improve company culture, employee engagement from this neuroscience perspective, and she uses that brain understanding to make work better, not only for the employee, but also to help them as a collective. And give everyone who's in that organization a competitive advantage. So welcome, Melissa. It's great to have you here.
Thank you so much. And I'm a fangirl right here too, because I've been following you, Nettie, for a long time.
Oh my goodness, we've just been like standing in the corners watching you. That's great. I love it. All right, well, let's just jump right in. So the first thing we're going to talk about here is psychological safety. What is it? How does it impact employee engagement? How does it impact problem solving and innovation? Let's just kind of give the overview, because I'm not sure how many people are prioritizing psychological safety in their workplace, and you're going to maybe tell us a little bit why that would be important.
Yeah, so for the last couple of years, we've talked about making sure that the workplace is physically safe, hygienically safe. And a lot of organizations are dealing with do we go back full time? Do we have a hybrid remote situation? All of those things are really important. But the key to remember when you're thinking about psychological safety is the brain does not differentiate between physical safety and psychological safety. Mm-hmm. If you are physically safe and psychologically safe, the brain says all is well. But if you are not psychologically safe, the brain treats it the same way as if you're, being chased by a tiger or something. Mm-hmm. Right? There is no differentiation between physical and psychological when it comes to safety in the brain. Why that is important is because if you think about the way the brain develops and the neural priorities, so the brain develops from bottom to top and back to front. So the prefrontal cortex, or the part right behind your forehead, that's where all of our higher level executive function happens. That's where impulse control happens, and problem solving and weighing risk and reward. And that isn't fully developed until our mid-20s, which is why we can give our 18, 19, and 20-year-olds a pass on some of the stupid things that they do because their brain really isn't done cooking yet, that part of the brain. Mm-hmm. But the brain, the neural priorities follow development. So the first priority is to keep us alive, survive, right? Keep us safe and survive. The second priority is to feel our emotions, and that happens in the limbic system in the middle of the brain. And the third priority is to think. So we all like to think that we're rational thinking masters of the universe all the time, and sometimes we get emotional. And the truth is that we're emotional beings who sometimes think rationally, right? So if we're not in a place of psychological safety. And what does that mean? Like in the workplace, what does psychological safety mean? That means I can raise my hand and say, I don't understand the task. I don't understand the question. I can raise my hand and say, I need help. Like I'm out of my league here. I need some help. And I won't feel ostracized and I won't feel judged. Um, there a while back, we thought of cultures as being a genius culture or a development culture. And when we think of genius culture, it is everybody has to be the smartest guy in the room. Like you don't let anyone see your vulnerability. You don't let anyone know that you don't have all the answers. And that's a genius culture. And one of the most famous genius cultures was Enron. Enron, their culture was such that, they expected everybody to be a genius all the time. And so what happens is people are afraid to raise their hand and ask a question because then that would imply that you don't have all the answers. Or they were afraid to raise their hand and say, hey, I have an idea, and then be, embarrassed because that idea doesn't work or whatever. So, do you want your people to let you know when they need help? Do you want people to reach out to others and collaborate on share ideas? If you want all of those things, and those are the things that actually make a great organization even greater,
right,
then there has to be psychological safety. People have to feel safe to do that and know that they're not going to be ostracized for it.
So then I guess the next question is, how do you cultivate a psychologically safe environment so that people can raise their hand, be vulnerable, ask questions, try and fail? I mean, to me, I'm hearing so many things like sort of ping in my mind. I'm hearing emotional intelligence, this idea that we need to be aware of our feelings comes first before thinking, right? Because if we put it in order of survive, feel, think, then having that emotional intelligence comes first. And I'm also thinking about these ideas of diversity, equity, inclusiveness, belongingness, because if people don't feel psychologically safe, it might be physically safe, but if they feel that they're going to be attacked because of, any of these other markers, or they will be thought less of because of these other things, then they're not going to be at their best either. So how do we recognize what's going on and then cultivate a different environment that's safe?
Such a great question. The first thing that I would say is, if you're a leader and you really want to establish a culture of psychological safety, then you should be asking people for help. Because if you say to your folks, hey, can you help me with this? Like, I'm not exactly sure, how to finish this task, or what are your thoughts on this project? Or, do you see any holes in this thing that I'm working on?
Right.
You are willing to let people point out the pitfalls and the potential flaws and whatever and what you're working on, then you give them permission to do the same. But, I have worked for leaders who not only have never asked me my thoughts on anything, but also have kind of disregarded my contributions. So why would I raise my hand and say, hey, I have this really good idea. Like I've been struggling with how to do X because our information sharing process is not great. And this is my experience. And when I raise my hand and say that, I get slapped down.
Right.
Well, I'm not going to raise number one, we're not going to fix the information sharing process that's broken. And number two, I'm not going to raise my hand and say, this is my experience and we need to fix this thing. So, I mean, I think the biggest thing for leaders is ask for help yourself. Model what you want from them. If you want them to ask and contribute and collaborate, then you need to do that yourself. That's number one. And number two, when people do come to you with problems, the last thing you want to do is make them feel regret that they came to you with a problem.
Right.
Because problem again. And right now we're in this place where we have a labor shortage everywhere, and they're just going to take their talents and skills elsewhere and say, you know what? They don't even know what I have to contribute. So I'm going to go.
Right.
are out there. So I wrote an entire ebook on psychological safety that has a lot more. I know that we're not going to get through all of this here, but I'm happy to share the link, or anybody can get in touch with me and I'm happy to send the link.
That'd be wonderful. Actually, let me just now share the link to your website. So if you're listening to this and you're like, this is what my organization needs, this is what I need, this is what I need to be talking to my people about, definitely reach out to Melissa, melissahughes.rock/contact. Ask her for the psychological safety white paper and ebook. Thank you, and talk to her about how you're applying it and how those ideas and concepts are hitting you. Thank you so much, Melissa, for coming in and sharing today. I truly appreciate it. You've got me thinking. I was taking notes, which I don't usually do, while we were having this conversation, because I'm thinking about how this, applies to my team. And as you were saying, model what you want your team to do. I was imagining just modeling this growth mindset, modeling being open to different ideas, modeling taking risks, modeling making mistakes, and celebrating all of those things with your team as well. I'd love to hear if you're listening and you go back and you apply some of these strategies, come back over here, let us know what you tried, how it worked, what ideas you're picking up here. Thank you again, Melissa, for joining us. If you would be so kind, if you're listening, even if you're listening later, hit that subscribe button so you can be notified when we go live again. I'll see you all later. Take care, everyone.